is actually one of the only Latin in Gemara that you can learn every single day of the year. Because this is one of the Gemaras you can learn on Tisha B'Av. And the reason why you can learn on Tisha B'Av is because it talks about the Churban, Beis HaMikdash, the breakdown of the Beis HaMikdash, and the Tzaddik Cohen says that this Agadata is specifically connected to Gittin because it's talking about a severance, a breakdown in a relationship. Just like a get is a breakdown between husband and wife, so too the breaking down of the Beis HaMikdash was also a breakdown, if you will, of us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not a complete severance, but it was a breakdown. Also, we're in Sefer HaNizakin, which is talking about damages. And there's no greater damage in the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. And in fact, Tzaddik Cohen describes how Agadic passages in every Gemara are linked to the topic at hand. So let's begin Amar Rabbi Yochanan, fourth wide line on Nun Hey Amud Beis. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Ma'ay dichsev asher adam afachei tamen u'machshel libo yivor v'ra. Says Rabbi Yochanan, what is an illustration of that which is written? Happy is the person who always fears the consequences of his actions, and one who hardens his heart, it will come to harm. A kamsa, and here are three examples of this. A kamsa, a bar kamsa, char b'Yushalayim. A kamsa and bar kamsa, because of what happened to kamsa and bar kamsa, Yushalayim was destroyed. A tarnagola bar tarnagosa, char turmaka, because of a rooster and a hen, turmaka, har melech was destroyed. And ashaka derisba char beisar, and because of the side of a carriage, beisar was destroyed. Now let's talk about these three examples. And by the way, whenever you have an Agadic story, you look at three different places. The Maharsha, the Ein Yaakov, and the Ben Yoyada. Those are the three places that you look at when you want to try and find an Agadic story. So Kamsa bar Kamsa, Charav Yushalayim, the Hugav Drachna Kamsa V'Advoi bar Kamsa. So
mention the location, please, one more time. This is on the phone.
Okay, we're on Nun Hey Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Okay, Paul? Okay. So the Kamsa bar Kamsa Charav Yushalayim. Because of Kamsa and bar Kamsa, Yushalayim was destroyed. Hugav Drachna Kamsa V'Advoi bar Kamsa. There was a man. We don't talk about the man's name. Who had a friend named Kamsa and an enemy named bar Kamsa. So he made a feast. Amrle the Shaman. He said to his servant, Zil Aisile Kamsa, get me Kamsa. Azal Aisile bar Kamsa. And he went ahead and got him bar Kamsa. Asa Ashkei Da'ab Yosef. And lo and behold, he goes there and when the host arrives at the banquet, he found bar Kamsa sitting there. His enemy is sitting there. Amrle, and he says, Michti Ahu Gabra Ba'adavava Dahu Gabru. He says, look. Here's that man, the enemy of that man. Look, I'm sitting here at my party, my enemy's here. Bar Kamsa's here, I hate him. My Bayisacha, what are you doing here? Kum Puk, get out. Amrle, he says, Hov Asai Shafkan. He says, listen, since I've come to say, I said, please, I'll give you the value of whatever I eat and drink at the party. I understand it's an expensive party. I'll give you the value of whatever I eat and drink. Please, don't kick me out. Amrle, he says, no. Amrle, he says, please, I'll pay for half the meal. He says, no. He says, look, please, I'll pay for the entire meal. Just don't throw me out. He says, no. So he lifts him up, he grabs him, holds his hand, and he throws him out of the party. Now, there's a couple of questions we have to talk about here. And obviously we know this is an example of sin aschina. But we have to ask, first of all, Kamsa and bar Kamsa are very unusual names, right? So if you look at Rashi, if you look at the second to last Rashi, on Nun Hey Amud Beis, Kamsa bar Kamsa, Kaf Shem Shnei Yehudim. These are the names of 2 Yehudim. Okay, but Kamsa and bar Kamsa are like, why is it that we're blaming Kamsa? Remember, Kamsa was the friend. He didn't do anything wrong. Bar Kamsa was the enemy. So why are we saying because of Kamsa and bar Kamsa? You hear the question? So the answer that we could say is like this. Kamsa, perhaps, the Maharsha says this, perhaps because he was late to the party, because due to his lateness, then the host reached out to Kamsa and by accident reached out to bar Kamsa. So maybe just perhaps because of his tardiness, this whole thing occurred. But I saw another beautiful interpretation. The Maharsha says that Kamsa and bar Kamsa are actually related. That Kamsa was the father, and bar Kamsa was the son. That's what the Maharsha says. And he says, this actually explains details in the story that we always go through every year, but it actually explains the nuance. Why in the world would the servant bring bar kamsa? It makes more sense if they're living in the same house, right? If they're living in the same house, it's easier to make that mistake. Oh, the father, he grabbed the son by accident. And not only that, but you see over here, it says the Marsha, perhaps the father ended up at the party, and he watched this whole thing take place to his own son. And he didn't say anything. And we see a breakdown between father and son. When you have a breakdown between father and son, and the father watches his son being berated and humiliated, and the father doesn't do anything. And the father goes ahead, and he watches as his son is embarrassed. That, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, a father is breaking down the relationship with the son, I'm going to break down my relationship with my children, says the Marsha. Very powerful, very important point of the Marsha. Right? Moshe's salvation also says the point that if you're sitting and you're watching as something tragic is occurring before your eyes, and someone is putting down their fellow Jew, and you don't say anything, you're also to blame. That silence is Shtika Kodelia, your silence is showing that you agree with the situation.
Do we know why they were enemies in the first place?
Why the nameless host and Bar Kamsa are enemies? We do not know. However, I think the Ben Ish Chai has a piece on this, which we did not look at. So Rick, after we'll look together. We'll treat me after breakfast. Okay. So, Amar Lei. Lo nakta biyadi lo biyafka. Okay, so we already did that. So, okay. Amar, and so we said, we're by the way, the fourth line going down to the bottom now. Amar, he says, because the rabbis sat there and they didn't rebuke this host, Shema mina ka nichlu. It's evident that they accept what happened. Ezel echel b'hu kurtza bin makla. And he went to eat kurtza by the Beit Makla. What does this mean, eating kurtza? So if you look at Rashi, echel kurtza, malshinas, slander. So he was going to go spread slander with the, he was going to go spread slander against the rabbis in the royal palace of the Roman government. By the way, why is it called spreading slander? Kurtza, because of the idea of kritas einayim, the winking of the eye, that when you spread slander, you wink one to another. Okay. Also, Amar Lei the Kesar. So he goes and he says to Kesar, and he says to him the following: the Jews, they've rebelled against you. Amar Lei miyemar. And he says, how do you know? Amar Lei shadalahu korvana. He says, go ahead, try bringing them a carbon and see what happens. Chazas imikarbon lei. So he said, fine, see if they're going to actually bring it up in the temple. So he goes ahead and he sends them an eglatilsa. What's an eglatilsa? So if you look at Tosfos says either it's a calf born third, or it's a calf, a third grown. And Tosfos over here brings down a crazy Gemara about how eglatilsa can't mean a calf grown third born, because the rabbis constructed a calf out of the Sefer Yetzirah, and it's called eglatilsa. So, not in a Zohar class, we'll go more deep.
Crazy good.
Yeah. What? So the eglatilsa, what does it mean that calf third born? So Rashi says either it was a third born calf, or it was a calf, meaning the calf that was born third, the third child of the mother, or it was a third grown. Okay. So he goes ahead, and he was going to Yerushalayim. Shadabe Muma B'nifs V'sayim. He goes ahead and he creates a mum in its lip. And some say no, he caused the cataract. Now let's talk about this for a second. First of all, he creates a mum in his lip. He creates a mum in his lip, or the cataract. What's the significance of the eyes and the lips? Any ideas why specifically those two mumim in this animal? What's the significance of the eyes having a mum or the lip? So the Maharsha says the lip represents Lashon Hara. There's a breakdown of Sinas Chino amongst Bnei Yisrael. So he cut that lip, says the Maharsha. And the eyes, the cataract, was this ayin ra, that everyone was always looking at the negativity in other people. So those two mumim, says the Maharsha, are actually significant. But then even what he did was he created a mum that for us is a mum, but for the non-Jews is not a mum, and I'll explain. A non-Jew, were they allowed to bring karbanos? Absolutely. The karbanos they brought, which could be on a bama, and if they had a mum, they could still bring it. The only way they couldn't bring the mum, they couldn't bring the animal, is if it was missing a limb. If it was missing a limb, they couldn't bring up the animal. But the the Jewish people, we have a higher standards when you bring an animal to the base of Mikdash. It can't have a cataract, can't have any cut on the lip. And so, by our standards, we couldn't bring up the animal. By the non-Jewish standards, they could bring up the animal. So when they see this situation over there, they says, we should bring up this animal. It's going to for Shalom Malchus. We got to bring up this animal. So Rabbi Chaim ben Avkulis says, Yomru Bali Mumin Craving the Gav Mizbeach. They're going to say that you can bring a Baal Mum on top of the Mizbeach. Sabar l'mikidlei d'lo lezu v'lema. They said, fine, you know what we should do? We should kill him. We should kill him so that he's not going to be able to spread slander. Says the Maharsha. Now hold on one second. What do you mean you're going to kill him so he's not going to spread slander? Do you understand the Roman officials with him watching to see if they take the carbon or not? What do you mean kill him? They're there. They're going to see. So the Maharsha says they're going to say this. They're going to say the name, the special name of Hashem, and he was going to drop dead. So he was going to walk out of the base of Mikdash. The non-Jews were not allowed to go to a certain section of the base of Mikdash. So they were going to walk in. They're going to stop at a certain point where they're not allowed to walk in. Then Bar Kamsa is going to walk further. They're going to say the special name of Hashem. He would drop dead, but he walked out and they say, oh, you know, it's very sad. He wouldn't be able to say what happened. So that's what the Maharsha adds a little piece to that. They said, fine, maybe we should bring up the animal. No, because then people are going to say you can bring an animal that has a blemish onto the in the base of Mikdash. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, because of the tolerance of Rabbi Chaim ben Avkulis. No, we shouldn't kill him because it'll set a precedent that anyone who makes a mum in an animal will get killed. By the way, what's the punishment if someone makes a mum? He gets lashes. He doesn't get killed. He gets lashes. Or we shouldn't bring up the animal because we were going to think you could bring up this animal in the base of Mikdash. Because of this tolerance and he wasn't able to make a strong decision, our base of Mikdash was destroyed. The Sarfa is Hechalenu, the Hechel was burnt, the Sanim and Aksenu, and we were exiled from the land. A few points on this Gemara. First of all, what does it mean, his humility? What does it mean, his humility? Chaim ben Avkulis is humility. So perhaps what this means is as follows. The Gra says that the way the Sanhedrin was situated was that the most chashuv rabbi sat in the middle, and the lower-ranking rabbis sat on the side. And as you move toward the center, the higher-ranking rabbi sat. Now, Chaim ben Avkulis, he was a great anak. He was very humble. He said, I'm not such a great rabbi. In fact, he was the Gadol Ador. He said, I'm going to sit myself on the side, not in the center. So when he sat himself on the side, all the other rabbis heard him declare, we shouldn't kill him. They listened to that idea, and then they weren't going to speak out against the rabbi. So it was because of the humility, says the Gra. Because of the humility of Chaim ben Avkulis, who would not position himself in the middle where he should have been, but instead sat himself on the side like he was not a high-ranking rabbi. Everyone else followed suit, and no one voted to kill Bar Kamsa. So that was the Gra's idea of the humility of Chaim ben Avkulis. Also, Rabbi Yossi Tzvi Rimon, Rechan's rabbi, one of Rabbi Rechan's rabbis, he said that there's a Tosefta in Shabbos that describes a machlokes between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel regarding what you do with the shells of sunflower seeds if they're on the table. Is it considered muksa? What is the condition? What type of muksa is it? And Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel have different understanding of what to do. And since Rabbi Rimon, Chaim ben Avkulis, it says in this Tosefta, he tried doing both. He tried holding like the view of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. And he wasn't, and he said, Rabbi Rimon says, and you see this quality that he wasn't able to make a straightforward decision. He vacillated and looked at all the different angles and kind of ended up in the middle. And sometimes as a leader, you have to take a stand. You have to stand up and make a tough decision, even if it's not popular, or even, it might offend someone out the other. Says Rabbi Rimon, you see this quality of this tolerance. At the end of the day, a rabbi sometimes has to be strong and stand up and say, okay, this is right, this is wrong, and be strong in it.
Not sometimes, always.
That's right. No, but there's also other times where they have to they have to.
No, but you can do tolerance with softness.
Right. That's true. Shadar Laya Neron Kesar. Okay. So they went ahead and they sent Neron Kesar. They sent Neron Kesar. There was one more point I wanted to make. Actually, to do time, I'm not going to say it. In fact, Kika Ase, as he was approaching Yerushalayim, Shadar Gira the Mizrach, he shot an arrow to the east, Asanaf Yerushalayim, it fell to Yerushalayim. Lamarav, he sent a arrow to the west, Asanaf Yerushalayim, it fell to Yerushalayim. Again, you have Nero, this general, he's shooting arrows, and the arrows are miraculously going to Yerushalayim. And he sends an arrow in all different directions. Asanaf Yerushalayim, it falls to Yerushalayim. Amar lei lenuka. So he goes ahead and sends to a child. By the way, you know there's sometimes this concept that like if you don't know what to do, and it's not like basically we have this concept that shows up in a Gadata of Haman going to a child and saying, "Tell me the pasuk that you just learned." So you see Nero goes to this child, just walks out of the Midrash and says, "Tell me what did you just learn in yeshiva? What did you just learn about the Midrash?" So tell me the verse that you just learned. Amalei, he said, "V'nasati es nikmasi be'edam b'yad ami Yisrael." He said that Rome, or the Edom, which is that comes from Rome, their revenge is going to take place through the hand of Bnei Yisrael. So he sees two signs. Number one, he shoots these arrows. They're all going to Yerushalayim. He knows that Hashem is going to destroy the base of Mikdash. And then he asks this child, and the child said, eventually, Rome, that Hashem is going to have revenge on Rome. So Amar, he says, Hashem, it's very clear to me you want to destroy the base of Mikdash. But you want to wipe your hands clean on me. You want me to be the messenger? He says, no, I'm not going to be the messenger for this dirty work. And instead he ran away and converted to Judaism. The Nava community Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir comes from Nero Caesar. A few interesting points. If you look in history, and I think it's the commentary of the Art Scroll, they talk about how this Nero Caesar went missing. It talks in history, it says that he went missing. The Gemara fills in where he went. He went to the Batei Midrash and he started learning. That's where he went. Interesting other point. Rabbi Meir, he's known as Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes, right? Rabbi Meir the Baal Hanes. What's the Nes talking about? These arrows that are being shot.
Oh, wow.
The arrows that are being shot, that was the Nes. Rabbi Meir is called Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes. Also, Meir comes to the word illuminate, and because Nero decided not to destroy the base of Mikdash, which was a source of light, not just for Bnei Israel, but for the world, he had the schus of Rabbi Meir coming from him would be a light to the world through his Torah. Shadri Elayu Las Panios Kesar. Now what happens is as follows. They sent, so this guy Nero went missing or converted, and now they sent Vespasian Caesar against the Jews. Asat Sar Alat Shnei. And he goes ahead and besieges Yerushalayim for 3 years. Now there are 3 very wealthy people amongst Bnei Israel. Nakdim ben Gurion, Kalva Savua, Rabbi Kiva's father-in-law, and Tzitzis HaKesses. 3 very wealthy men. Nakdim ben Gurion, Shenakta Lochama Ba'avura. You know in the Gemara Tanis and Daf Yud Testament Beis, in Chacham Elal. The Nakdimon ben Gurion, why was it called Nakdimon? Because Bnei Israel go to Yerushalayim 3 times a year. They go 3 times a year. Pesach Shavuot Sukkos. And what happened was, there was no water. So this Nakdim ben Gurion made a deal with a very wealthy non-Jew and says, if you provide water for Bnei Israel, I'll give you this massive sum of money unless Hashem causes it to rain. And Hashem doesn't cause it to rain almost toward the time, and Nakdim ben Gurion davens, and then all of a sudden the heavens become dark, and it rains, and all the wells get filled. And this non-Jew says, Nakdim ben Gurion, very nice, I got water, but I got my money, because the day's done. And Nakdim ben Gurion davened to Hashem, and the sun pierced through the clouds, and that's why it's called Nakdimo, the piercing, and that's why he's called Nakdim ben Gurion. Anyway, Ben Kalva Savua, who, by the way, was Rekiva's father-in-law, and Shekol Nichas Leveso, anybody who entered his house, Keshura Kekeled, Yotzi Keshu Shabea, anyone who entered his house hungry like a dog would leave satiated. The Dibri Emes says that Kalev was actually a descendant of Kalev ben Yefuna. He's an Eidikla of Kalev ben Yefuna in the Chumash, that's why he was called Kalev. And the Torah Shlema says no. You know what he would do? He loved Hachnetzes Orchim so much that anyone who came to his house, he'd feed him foods that get him hungry, and then he would feed them a massive meal. That's why he got them hungry, like he'd feed them foods that would get them hungry, and then he would feed them. Okay, Ben Tzitzis HaKesses. Tzitzis HaKesses. Tzitzis, it's a very interesting name, Tzitzis, you know? Is that really his name? So let's talk about it. Tzitzis HaKesses. Shahisa Tzitzisa Negredes Al Gabi Kisasas. Now, it wasn't really his name.